All right, we are live. Okay. I know we're starting later. Right, we are live. Hold on, I gotta mute this. Okay. I see some of you guys on here already. So as you pop on here, please give me a heart, give me a comment, so I know I'm not the only person on this class. I am super excited to teach this class today. In fact, I was telling my husband about it, and I got super emotional. Because we have worked really hard on our marriage, if I'm completely honest. And so I'm really excited. Oh, hi, Heather. Okay, I'm so excited to talk about marriage today. And I just really hope that you guys come away feeling empowered and excited to try what I teach today in your marriages. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Missy Reber. I'm one of the elevation specialists in the group. I help coach inside of the Elevated Mother Experience, which is our personal one-on-one client program. I love this company so much. I love what it has done for me in my life. And I hope as I teach these skills today, you will come to the realization that I have come to, and that is that the most important thing that you can do for your own marriage is to work on yourself. So I know in the teaser, I said I was going to talk about today the two things your husband wants most for Valentine's Day, and I will make true to my word. I am going to talk about the two things your husband wants most, and they may surprise you, but I am so excited to roll this out. So the two skills that I am going to talk about come from this book. Let me show you. I got a copy. This book, The Empowered Wife by Laura Doyle. And they don't just come from that book. They are actually based in scripture. There's so much more to them. That is just one of the places that I learned these skills. And I just love the way she puts those skills forth and helps you really apply them in an easy, applicable way. And the more and more I apply these skills to my marriage, the better and better my marriage gets. And, you know, as Christian women, we of course believe in marriage. We believe that God wants our marriages to thrive. We believe that we should be one with our spouses. We believe that marriage is where children thrive the best. Uh-oh. Did it stop? Why did my video stop? Hold on, guys. Oh, I'm still live? Okay. It totally said that my video is like on my screen, it says my live video ended. Okay, so keep commenting. Thank you, Amy and Heather. I was like, what just happened? My screen says this live video has ended. Okay, so if my video ends, will somebody please like say something and I will watch the comments. Okay, I was so confused there for a minute. I was like, what is happening? Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. So we've got Amy, we've got Cherie, we've got Heather on here. Some of you have read The Empowered Wife. So those of you who have read the book, I would love for you to chime in as we go through these skills. And for those of you who haven't read the book, I am going to give away a copy of this book to one of the people who comment on this video. The only thing you have to do is comment what you love most that your husband does for you. Okay, so what you love most that your husband does for you, keep it G-rated for the sake of this group. Just kidding. Kind of not. All right. So, okay, we're going to talk about two skills that you can apply in your life starting today that is going to make your marriage more intimate, happier, and more connected. Because isn't that what we want? We want to feel super connected to our spouses. We want to feel loved. We want to feel cherished. We want to feel adored, right? We want like that fairy tale butterfly feeling. And I don't know about you, but I have 6 kids and a real life, and marriage does not feel like that all the time. And I know for me, my husband and I were just talking about this morning, was that, you know, we've been through phases in our marriage that I read an article once that called them crucibles, right? And on average, every marriage will go through 3 points in their marriage that are what they call a crucible, a family crucible, where you go through something really hard and it's a make it or break it moment in your marriage. And my husband, Jeff, and I were talking about this and how, you know, there have been more than one instances in our marriage where, you know, we're like, are we going to make it out of this? Like, are we going to not kill each other? Like, where it feels like sometimes you have speed bumps in your marriage and sometimes it feels like your marriage drops off a cliff and, you know, you're like, are we going to live through this? Are we going to get up and walk away out of this situation? So I want you to know, if you are coming to today's call and you are divorced, separated, fighting with your husband, frustrated with your husband, or super happy, all of this can still apply to you. Because here's the thing, I'm teaching you skills that you get to do. This isn't about changing your husband. This is about changing you. And this leads me into our first skill that we're going to talk about today. And the number one thing that men want in a marriage is to feel successful. Okay, so how do men feel successful? I'm going to tell you. There's 2 different ways. The first is that they feel successful when their wife is happy. When their wife is unhappy, a man feels like he is failing. So what do we do about it? Yes, Heather says, how does a man feel successful? When the wife is happy. Heather's read The Empowered Wife. Okay, so this is the one most powerful takeaway I want you to come away from this call, is that you are in charge of your own happiness. And I know that this idea is sometimes something we don't want to own, right? Because there's so many parts to motherhood and marriage, right? There's finances, there's kids screaming, there's, for me, ridiculous long years of lack of sleep. There's all of these pieces of motherhood, all these places where we spend ourselves. Okay, we spend ourselves in motherhood in so many places that we often feel like we surrender our happiness for good reason, out of good intent, to our husband, to our church, to our neighbor down the street who needs help, to our children. And we spend our energy and our happiness. And then we want to blame everybody else for being exhausted, unhappy, resentful. And the truth is you always have a choice. If you get one theme from the Elevated Mother Collective, it's going to be this concept that you always get to choose your life. You always get to choose how you respond and create your life. So, how do we, as wives, reclaim the responsibility of our own happiness and thereby give our husbands the joy of having what they actually want most, which is to feel successful because their wife is happy? Okay, we can take that apart a little bit. Like, their happiness should not depend on whether or not we're having a good day as well. They need to own their own crap. But the truth is there's this quote in the book that talks about the man is the head of the family, like the actual head, but the wife is the neck, and it will move the head whichever way it goes. So I want you to remember how much influence your energy has in your home. You are truly the neck that moves the whole head of the house. Your energy matters so much to your children, to your husband, to your community. Why is it that we are allowing ourselves to just give it all away and not make ourselves the number one priority in our house? Our happiness literally affects every single person in our house. So, the first skill your husband wants you to practice for for Valentine's Day, the best thing that you can give him is a happy wife. So let's break it down. Let's talk about how we do that. So I know I might get a lot of arguments here, but your self-care and your self-concept, how you think about yourself, is the number one thing on your to-do list. And we talked about this. I talked a lot about why our self-concept and our self-worth determines the entire way we show up in our life in the call I taught last week. Was that last week? Earlier this, yeah, it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So we're not going to go into self-concept today. If you struggle with self-worth and self-concept, comment self-concept and I will tag you in that other video because you need to watch that one too. But today we're going to talk about radical self-care. Okay, radical self-care. So many times as moms, we get so head down in life. You guys, I have 6 kids. I am in the busiest, most insane season of my life. And I do more self-care now because I have realized that I have to. I absolutely have to do it, or I show up resentful, grouchy, and annoyed. And that does not serve me or my husband or my children. So I want you to make a delights list. And you're like, eye roll, really? Are we going to make a self-care list? Yes. And you have to get to 20, okay? And these are things that make you feel like a woman. These are things that like you do for yourself that you're like, oh, I feel so luxurious. I feel so pampered. Like all those things. I want you to write them down. Maybe it's eating strawberries every day. That sounds silly, but one of the things that I go out of my way to do for myself is to eat pretty food. If you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I make all my food pretty. Why? Is it a waste of time? Nope. Because it makes me so ridiculously happy to look at my lunch and be like, oh, so pretty. Today I'm wearing red lipstick. And Shuri got on here early and she's like, I'm wearing red lipstick too. Maybe it's red lipstick. Maybe it's just taking a shower and doing your hair. But we have these memes that float around the internet about how we don't shower and we don't take care of ourselves and we wear it like a badge of honor. And I'm telling you that we got to stop. For the sake of your husband's happiness, you deserve to take care of yourself. So I want you to make a list today. You can list some in the comments. Kim says she loves pretty food. So in the comments, throw out there 3 things that you like love to do for yourself. If you had a day to yourself to do whatever you wanted, what would you do? I did this the other day. I was like, I asked myself so clearly, Missy, what do you want? And I was like, I want to take a bath with a candle and listen to whatever music I want. I don't want to have to listen to, my kids' playlist from the Trolls movie. I took a bath. I made myself lunch. And then I took a nap, and then I took a shower, and then I got ready, and I allowed myself 4 hours to take care of myself while my kids were at school. I never do that. I always find other things to do, right? I empty the dishwasher or whatever, but we have to find ways to take care of ourselves. And you're actually giving your husband what he wants most when you are well self-cared, when you're filled up with your self-care and your husband walks in the door and you're relaxed and you're happy and you're dressed and you feel great about yourself, it's not that you look attractive to him. It's not that you it's the energy you're going to give off to your spouse, that when he walks in the door and you're just like owning yourself and you feel good in yourself, that makes your husband feel successful. He walks into the kitchen and he sees you being a goddess and he's like, I am the man. I am the man. And guess what? He did nothing for that self-care, but he feels successful when you are happy and in a high energetic state. Okay. So another piece to this that I want to talk about that that I think gets missed a lot is that we think, oh, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, right, Missy. Hold on, I lost my Facebook feed. Shoot. Oh, it's right there. I can't see the comments anymore. Hold on. Shoot. Where did it go? Okay, there we go. Sorry. Okay. Is that a big barrier we have to this idea of self-care and this idea of taking care of ourselves is that we don't ask for what we want. Okay, we think the idea of taking care of ourselves is really great, right? We're like, oh, sure, that sounds great. But we actually are afraid to ask our husbands for what we want. I'm going to tell you right now that the happiness in your marriage, the North Star, the guiding light for your husband and how he feels successful in your marriage is your desires. Yes, your desires are important to your husband. Your desires are important to you. And if you don't tell your husband what you want, if you don't ask for things, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. And so the number one cause for divorce is resentment. Did you know that? And did you know that more women file for divorce than men? We can prevent resentment by choosing to be vulnerable and asking for what we want. But in order to ask for what you want, you have to figure it out for yourself. You have to figure out what you want. Maybe that's to take an adult ballet class. I did that last year, and it was inconvenient for every person in my house. My kids were mad about it. My husband was all supportive, but of course he had to like watch the kids so that I could go. But you know what? It made me ridiculously happy. It made me so happy, but I had to set my pride aside, my supermom syndrome aside, and I had to ask for help. And as moms, we are so liberal with the help that we give everybody else, but we do not like to ask for what we want. So this goes back to the delights list. Like, what do you want? I yell at myself like this all the time. I'm like, Missy, what do you want? Because this has been a skill that has been such a struggle for me. I am a self-sacrificer and a self-made martyr in my marriage because I just never spoke up. I never asked for help. I never asked for what I wanted. And then I would just get resentful. And you know what happened to me? I started asking for what I wanted, and my husband was so happy to do that for me. He was like, okay. And I was shocked. I was like, you mean I've been going all this time without help because I did that to myself? I made myself into an exhausted martyr for myself because guess what? My husband didn't know how to help me. But I'm telling you right now, your happiness is so important to your husband. He might not say that, but how would it feel to experiment with this skill of one, getting clear on what you want, getting clear on what makes you feel happy and asking your husband for it? Asking, because what do the scriptures say? Ask and ye shall receive. Nobody is going to come and magically make you shower or have time to read a book It's not going to happen. You get to own your own happiness. And one skill that you get to learn and you get to embody is getting clear on what you want and asking for it. And then in the interest of feminine energy, the feminine energy in marriage is to receive. And sometimes we tell ourselves this story that we're just givers. We just give and give and give and give and give. But actually, we are at our very best when we are receivers. And most moms are crappy receivers. We are. We feel most comfortable when we're giving away, and we feel vulnerable when we're in the receiving position. So I want you to try this out. Okay, so let's play this game. What's one thing that you would like to do or buy or have, doesn't matter, that you haven't asked your husband for? Because why? You don't want to be vulnerable? You're afraid he'll say no? Because it's silly to spend money on yourself when you spend money on everybody else because it feels frivolous. I'm going to tell you that your husband wants to extravagantly love you. He does not know what that looks like. Some men are better at this than others, but he's not a mind reader. If you want to go to Hawaii with your kids on vacation this summer, say something. Say, hey, you know what? Here's the skill. Listen, I would love to take the kids to Hawaii. And then drop the expectation of how your husband fulfills that desire. But he might surprise you. And 6 months from now, you're going to sit down to your financial meeting and say, hey, let's plan our vacations for the summer and fall. And he's going to be like, let's go to Hawaii. And you're going to be like, you want to go to Hawaii? And he's like, no, you want to go to Hawaii. And I want you to go to Hawaii. This is when you express your desires, it flips a switch in your husband's brain because his energy, masculine energy, is to provide, to protect, and to give. Your energy as a female is to receive. So tell your husband what you love. And when he does it, tell him how much you love it. If you want flowers, just be like, I would love fresh flowers in my kitchen every single day. Drop the expectation and see what happens. My husband told me when we were dating, I love fresh flowers. He told me when we were dating, he would never buy me flowers. And I was like, so offended. I was like, nope, not marrying you. And he was like, well, they just die. It's so stupid. But I really love pretty things. And I was like, oh, but they're so pretty and they smell so good. But you know what my husband does for me? He buys me flowers. And every time he buys me flowers, I make a huge deal of it. And he keeps buying me flowers because when he does, I love it so much. You get to love your life. You get to love things. Okay. Kim says, I had no idea what I want because I'm sacrificing so much. What do you want, Kim? Okay, I'm going to use Kim as an example. Kim, I love you so much. Kim is in our Elevated Mother Experience program and she's killing it. She's making so many strides in her growth. And this is one thing that Kim is practicing. Kim was tired. I hope you're okay if I share this story, Kim. Thumbs up. I know you've shared it publicly. So Kim got tired of making dinner. And so I'm so proud of her because she practiced the skill and she asked her husband to make dinner on Sundays so she could have some time off. And you know what her husband did? He happily made dinner on Sundays. And Kim was like, oh, all I had to do was ask. So how many things are we not asking for? Your husband, the number one thing he wants is to make you happy. Tell him how to do it. And then receive it, drink it in, pick it up, and like wrap it with a bow and put it in your chest and just own it. Own it. Okay, so we're going to recap this skill. When you ask for what you want, it flips on your husband's hero gene and it makes him want to please you. that makes him feel like the man. You're doing him a favor. You're doing him a favor by telling him what you want. You're doing your husband a favor by making yourself happy. Claiming your own responsibility for your own happiness is the number one skill that will make your marriage thrive. Hands down. So you get to yell at yourself today and say, what do I want? And get clear with yourself, even if it's uncomfortable, and start to keep a running list of all the things you want. It doesn't, even if they feel astronomical, like I want to go to the south of France with a bunch of girlfriends and tour all the religious female sites, like, and see all the Mary statues. I really want to do that. Is it extravagant and ridiculous? Of course. At this point in my life, it is. But you know what? My husband knows about it. He knows how much it means to me. And he is trying to figure out how in the next 5 years to make that happen for me. Okay. So like, but he doesn't know that I want to go to France unless I tell him what my dreams are. Okay. Amy says, I feel like I tell him things I want, but he forgets all the time. And then I have to keep reminding him over and over rather than receiving. Okay. That's good, Amy. So if you care to give me an example and I will help you figure out ways to word that, because when you're telling someone over and over and over what you want, it's because you have an expectation. And we could do a whole class on expectations and how they're like the little literal killer, the dagger to intimacy. So there's ways around that. But so maybe you want your husband to help with cleaning, okay? And he's not getting it. Like Amy's saying, like he's not getting it. This is what you get to learn is the constant reminding and nagging worth the intimacy that you're going to lose by doing that? So my advice to Amy is if she wants his help with the kids and he's not getting it, is when he does help in a small way with the kids, you need to recognize it. You need to say, thank you. And you need to say, I love it when you do that. Oh, I love it when you do that. I love it when you do that. So a lot of times when we're telling them over and over again, they pick up that as nagging. Okay, so that leads me perfectly into our second skill. Our second skill is a sneaky one, and it's often the number one thing we don't realize that we're doing wrong in our marriages. And it is the dagger to intimacy for a man. And that's disrespect. And as wives, we want to believe about ourselves that we are respectful, right? We're respectful wives. But there are lots of sneaky ways that disrespect sneaks in that we might not see as disrespectful. We see it as helpful. And to a man, their brain reads disrespect and failure. Okay. When a man feels disrespected, he feels like a failure. So the way to your happiest marriage is for your man to feel like $1 million. You want him to feel successful in making you the happiest goddess of a wife you can be. And so we need to learn where we are triggering disrespect in our husband's brain by our own behavior. And why do we want to do that? One, it's in our best interest, right? Because we want to feel adored and we want to feel cherished. Our husband will not put out that vibe to us when he feels disrespected. So I'm going to read through this list of sneaky ways of disrespect. And if one is a light bulb for you, I want you to comment in the comments. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Hold on, I got to get to my notes. Okay, are you ready? Sneaky ways disrespect shows up. Disrespect always lands as control. And really, men are like teenage boys in a man body. How many teenage boys like to be controlled? 0%. How many men like to be controlled? 0%. So when a man feels disrespected, he feels controlled. So we get to look at ourselves and how we are showing up. The only person you can change in your marriage is you. And you get to be proud of yourself for showing up for your husband in a way that makes him feel successful. And when you make him feel successful, you get to feel cherished, desired, and adored. It's a win-win for everybody. So if one of these sets off a light bulb in you, I want you to comment in the comments. Sneaky ways disrespect and control shows up in your marriage. 1, this one's pretty easy to see, criticizing. Any criticism, even if you feel it is constructive or helpful criticism, lands as disrespect in a man's brain. Helpful suggestions like, hey, did you remember to make that doctor's appointment? Or you should probably call your mom. Or did you remember it's your dad's birthday? Or are you really going to wear that shirt? Helpful suggestions land in a man's brain as disrespectful. Next one, micromanaging. Okay, when your husband is fixing the sink and you're up in there behind him, and it's like, oh, well, did you check this? Did you check this? Back it up. Let the man be your hero. Same goes for putting the kids to bed. Okay, you ask for help. You ask your husband, hey, I'm really exhausted today. Can you put the kids to bed? But they need to brush their teeth this way, and then you have to read this story, and then you have to turn on the nightlight, and then you have to blah, 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 because I know that you know how to put your kids to bed best. Okay. But micromanaging how your husband does things, especially things that you asked him to help you with, lands as disrespect. Micromanaging how he mows the lawn lands as disrespect. So how do we not micromanage? We let him do it. Even if he doesn't do it like you want it done, if the kids are asleep and you didn't have to do it, be grateful and tell him how much you appreciate that. And if you want him to change something about how he does, praise what he did do. So micromanaging, killer of intimacy, okay? Doing things that you don't want to do and then being resentful to him for it. Okay, so maybe there's a bill that needs to be paid, or there is something that needs to be fixed in the house and you asked your husband to do it and you get annoyed. And so you do it. And then you're resentful. That resentful energy cannot be hid. It is powerful, powerful energy. Okay. So it is not helping you to do things for your husband and then be resentful about it. So I'll give you an example from my marriage. For whatever reason, my husband is in a phase of his life where he doesn't put his clothes away. I should turn the camera around. They're just like sitting on my floor in my room for months. And it's just because like our closet is small and he has to like figure out how to make it work. And I have more than once gotten annoyed and put it all away for him. And then he's frustrated because I didn't do it how he wanted, of course, because he can't find his clothes, because having them all over the floor is easier for him to find them, but it's annoying to me because they're all over the floor. But you know what I've done? I've just let it go. I just clean the rest of the room and make it look how I want. And I just leave his crap and I just step over it. And I got over it, because is me controlling the fact that he doesn't want to do that worth the intimacy in my marriage? Does it make him a bad provider and a bad husband and a bad dad because he doesn't put his crap away? No. Same thing. Like he shaves, he leaves his clippings all over the sink and it drives me crazy. But I decided, I was like, either I can nag him about it, be annoyed, or I can clean the sink myself because I want to clean sink. But I don't get to be resentful about it. And then the other day he cleaned the sink and I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's great. You cleaned the sink. Thank you. I love a clean sink. And he laughed so hard. He thought it was the funniest thing I had ever done in our marriage because he was like, oh my gosh, I have been annoying the crap out of you for months because I don't clean up after myself, haven't I? And I was like, well, I really love a clean sink. And he was like, you're welcome, honey. And he took so much pride in the fact that he cleaned the sink for the first time in like a month. And I'm just like, I stopped being mad about it and I stopped doing it myself because is it worth the intimacy in my marriage to gripe about a clean sink? If I really want to clean, I'll clean it myself and I will do it without resentment. So stop doing things that you don't want to do and being pissed off about it. Okay. Correcting him. This is a big one. And a lot of times we do this in front of our kids and we don't see it. We don't see that we're correcting our husbands, but we do this a lot. Speaking for him. We do this in front of our kids too. I did. Okay. So like we would be discussing something with the kids and I would answer first, or I would answer for us instead of giving my husband the chance to chime in because I'm the mom. I know how to do things best for the kids, right? Of course, I'm the expert on parenting. And you know what I sadly realized, especially now that I have teenage boys, that in parenting situations where I was speaking for us as a couple, my husband's better at it. And I wasn't even giving him the opportunity to speak because I just did it for him. So now you know what I do? I say, okay, we're going to go talk to the kids. Go ahead. And then I get to pour out my gratitude. And frankly, he usually does it better than me. And I have to check my own pride. And I have to be like, oh, dang, that was really amazing, honey. You're such a good parent. Thank you for that. And I was robbing myself of that because I thought I could do it better, because I assumed that as the mom, of course, I know how to parent my child better, how to talk to my teenage boys about sexuality better, because why would I be better at that? Stupid, right? But I was doing that out of default. This is what we do a lot because we're so good at taking care of all the things that we do this as default. We talk for him. Okay. Is anything ringing a bell for anybody? Okay. All right. So we're going to go through a couple more of these sneaky ways to show disrespect. Okay. Doing things. Okay. Over functioning. We could literally do a whole class on over functioning in marriage. But Robin told a story. Go read it. It's on her Facebook page about over functioning. And she said that she would get so stressed out about having dinner on the table for her husband when he came home at 6 o'clock, and she would get all worked up about it. And one time her husband came home and she didn't have dinner ready. And so she was like apologizing. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't have dinner ready. And he's like, you don't need to do that. And Robin was like, what? You mean you don't have an expectation of me that I have to make dinner every single night? And he was like, no. And Robin's like, yes. And she threw her hands up in the air and she never did it again. I'm sure she still makes dinner. But here's the underlying intimacy killer in your marriage. Over functioning is not helping you. Doing everything in your house is not helping you. It's just a huge energetic drain. And you folding the socks a certain way and like doing everything is, and then like wondering why nobody appreciates it, is you putting that expectation on yourself. I did this same thing with making meals for my family. I was constantly trying to like, oh, I have to have healthy dinner every single night. I have to like make my kids a lunch and like do the bento box sandwiches. And that was a ridiculous expectation. I was over functioning. And I dropped it and look how much energy I have left. Some nights now what my kids ask, they go, hey, mom, are you making dinner tonight? And if I say no, my kids feed themselves. My big kids do. Do you know how much stress that lifted off my shoulders to be like, it's okay for me to not do this every single night? There are so many things that we do inside of our marriages that are over functioning that we often don't see. And then we exhaust ourselves and become resentful. So The way to identify where you're overfunctioning is to say, what are you doing in your household that you're resentful about that you don't want to do anymore? Like, take the example for Kim. She was like, I don't want to cook all the time anymore. She was overfunctioning. And she just asked for help. Or you get pizza one night. Or your kids make themselves cereal and everybody lives. And so, okay, this is another big one that I want to talk about. So I would love to hear in the comments as I talk about this next one, what your thoughts are. And it is walking on eggshells and not speaking up about your needs to avoid conflict. And why this is so disrespectful is because the underlying symptom of this behavior is assuming the worst in your husband, is assuming that he doesn't want to help you, is assuming we can do this with our kids too, where we walk on eggshells around people's moods or other people, and we don't speak our mind, we don't say what we need, we don't share our frustrations. And we are actually being dishonest, and we're actually robbing our husbands of the opportunity to show up for us. And then we get resentful because he didn't show up for us. But you actually weren't vulnerable enough to speak your mind, ask for what you needed or wanted, and you decided to walk on eggshells. This was a huge aha for me in my marriage. I did this all the time. So take, for example, my husband works long hours, and, something would break in the house and I wouldn't tell him. I wouldn't tell him because in my mind, I didn't want to stress him out, right? But I was assuming responsibility for his reaction, right? I was assuming responsibility for what was over here on his responsibility list. And so I just wouldn't say anything. And then I would feel stressed and overwhelmed because something was broken, or I literally went, I don't even know how long, guys, months with a broken garbage disposal. Do you know how much of a pain that is? It's a huge pain. And I just didn't say anything because I made the assumption that my husband was overloaded, and I made the assumption that he wouldn't want to help me. Well, I was wrong. And so finally, for whatever reason, my husband went to use the garbage disposal and it wasn't working. And he was like, Missy, how long has it been like this? And I was like, I don't know, a while. And he was like, why didn't you just say something? And I was like, ugh. I was walking on eggshells, and he was like, well, that's rude. And I was like, rude? Why is it rude that I didn't want to add something to your list? And he was like, well, because I would have just fixed it. And I was like, dang, that was me being disrespectful by assuming the worst in my husband, assuming that he couldn't handle it. And men handle things. They like to feel like they're handling it. They love to handle things for you because guess what? It makes them feel like the hero. And so when we walk on eggshells and we buffer ourselves and we don't speak up, ask for what we need, and we prejudge their reactions, we are being disrespectful. And we're robbing ourselves of the opportunity of being cared for, loved, adored, and our husband getting to step in and take care of us and take care of it. Did that blow anyone else's mind? Because when I realized this skill, I seriously recognized so many ways in which I was walking on eggshells with my husband. And when I changed that, do you know what I started to get? Everything I wanted. My husband hardly ever says no to me if I want something, even if it's inconvenient for him. I didn't want to take care of myself. Like, I didn't want to admit that I was worthy of being spoiled, of being treated with like so much care and love. Why? I couldn't even ask my husband to fix the friggin' garbage disposal. He's not like an abusive, crazy person. He's not, sure, he might. I might tell him there's a pipe broken and there was water all over the garage and he might feel frustrated about it. But like, I now know that he feels successful in our marriage and like he's taking care of me when I get off of his side of the street, off his paper. In the book, she calls it his paper. Well, that's on his paper. His emotional response for you telling him that the garbage disposal is broken is his problem, and you're owning it. You're taking that on. You walking on eggshells and not speaking up is ruining the intimacy in your marriage. You will feel like a goddess in your household if you allow your husband to take care of you by you being honest with what you want, what you need, and letting him show up for you and not picking up his emotions. If he's pissed that the toilet's clogged and you need his help, fine, let him be mad about it. But when he's done unclogging that toilet, I guarantee you, he's going to walk out of that bathroom and he'll go like this. He'll go, "Hey, I fixed the toilet." And then you get to receive it and you get to be like, "Thank you so much. I hate fixing the toilet." Right? Even if he had a bad attitude about it. But maybe you either unclog the toilet yourself, which you hate to do, or you just didn't tell him because you were walking on eggshells. I would love for you guys to look at your lives and where you do this in your life and get vulnerable with yourselves and ask for what you want and need and stop walking on eggshells. Stop disrespecting your husband by assuming that he doesn't want to help you. All right. That was the biggest one for me. Can you tell? I get really like passionate about it. Like, woo. Okay. Oh, here's one. Undoing things he already did. So whatever that is, how he loads the dishes. If he loads a dishwasher for you, I don't care how annoyed you are about how he did it. It is not worth the intimacy in your marriage to redo it or to tell him about it. You didn't do the dishes, so like receive that. Okay, so undoing things he did, or here's the other part of this one, telling him how you would do it. How many of us do this? Be like, "Oh, well, I fold the laundry this way. I buckle the baby in the car seat this way." That's so disrespectful. How do you like it when somebody comes in and tells you how to parent your kid? Doesn't that make you so mad when your mom is like, "Oh, well, you probably should do it this way"? We don't like it. But a lot of times, because as moms, we're in the do it brain, we do all the things. We often tell our husbands how to do things, especially when it comes to the kids. So just become aware. And when you feel the need to tell him how you would do it, duct tape your mouth. It's actually a skill that she teaches in the book. It's called duct tape. Like, just, is it worth the intimacy in your marriage? Is it worth your husband feeling unsuccessful for you to tell him how you do it? No. Okay, the last one on this list is giving him disapproving looks. Eye rolling your husband. Probably clearly not respectful. But how many times do we do this? I didn't think I did this. And then I started to like check myself. And I actually do this more than I thought. And I was like kind of horrified because like he would be doing something with the kids and I'd be like, and I was like, "Oh, did you see that?" Like, but it's good awareness for ourselves because in those moments when we feel like making a face, we get to check our own behavior. We get to choose how we show up in our marriage and we get to choose to be respectful. It's just like the scriptures say, right? Like, love your neighbor as yourself, do unto others as you would do unto you. Well, in marriage, we kind of throw that rule out the window. We do. We become incongruent with that belief that we should treat others like we would want to be treated when it comes to our husbands because we hold him to a higher standard, right? We got expectations. We do that a lot and we don't even see it. So I will post this list in the comments if you guys want to like copy it into your phones and just start to become aware. This class is getting long, so I'm going to wrap this up. And we have talked about so many things on this call, but let's just like revisit. You guys can do these skills today. You can take responsibility for your own happiness. You can speak up and ask for what you want. Your husband wants you to be ridiculously happy. You are giving him the best Valentine's gift ever by making yourself available and able to receive happiness. And that comes by figuring out, what do you want? Okay. So I want to hear all the things you want in the comments. If you watch this replay, please tag me. If you want to talk about a certain thing that I shared, tag me. And then of course, the second skill, like really evaluating where you're killing the intimacy in your marriage by being disrespectful that you might not be seeing, is such a big deal. And it will mean so much to your husband. And you will see a huge change when you stop doing those things. And better yet, if you recognize one of those things that you've been doing, go to your husband and just say, hey, I noticed that I've been doing this and that's really disrespectful and I'm sorry. And your husband will be like, what is happening? The words I'm sorry for being disrespectful are like it will catch him off guard. And he'll be like, oh, that's okay, honey. And you'll be like, no, it's important to me that I'm respectful to you. And it will revolutionize your marriage. It has for me. And it has been so good for me to check my own pride and to choose to be a respectful wife. And that has empowered, the name of this book is The Empowered Wife. It has empowered me to choose how I show up, to own my own happiness, and to treat my husband how I want to be treated and be a respectful wife. Is the best thing I've ever done. Okay. If you're sitting with these skills and you're like, that was a lot, you're feeling like I'm doing everything wrong, and you want a space to really work on yourself, I want you to know the Elevated Mother Collective is where it's at, guys. We teach these classes. We love you. We want you to be here. We want to help you become the best versions of yourself. The best thing that I ever did for my marriage, for my husband, for my kids was to commit to my own growth. If you want a more personal, high-powered, supportive experience, we have the Elevated Mother Experience. We have open spots in February. If you're ready to really move on your self-growth and you want a one-on-one coach and some more intense support so you can really level up your life, please comment ready, and one of us elevation specialists or Robin will reach out to you and we will talk about you coming into the Elevated Mother Experience. Me committing to my own growth was the best work I've ever done on myself. So if you're ready for more, comment ready and I will reach out to you. All right. I hope now you have these skills going into Valentine's Day. You've got like almost a week to work on this. I would love if you would comment if you try these out and you have success and your husband is like, whoa, what is happening? Come in here and tag me in this video. I would love it so much to hear your wins about applying these skills. All right, I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you so much for being here with me. I love being in this community. It means so much to me. It has been the best thing I've ever done for myself and my marriage. Happy Valentine's Day. You all deserve to feel cherished, adored, and loved in your marriages. And if you comment in the comments what you love most, tag me what you love most about your husband. I am going to do a drawing and I will send you a copy, your very own, of The Empowered Wife. You can also buy this for yourself on Amazon. And if you buy it and it continues to blow your mind and you want someone to talk about it with, please reach out to me. All right. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for being here.